You know what really makes a man question his grip on reality? It's not the heartbreak. It's not even the betrayal. It's the fact that you can share a bed, a mortgage, and your Netflix password with someone who, one morning, decides the downward dog next to them is a better future than the man who built it all. My name's Cole, and 3 weeks ago, my wife of 9 years, Emma, emptied our joint account, packed her Lululemon leggings, and ran off to Bali with her yoga instructor. You can't make this stuff up. The guy's name? Sky. That's not a nickname. That's what's on his license. Sky. Like the atmosphere. Like the thing you scream at when life kicks you in the teeth. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does a guy let that happen? Trust me, I've asked myself the same thing. But hindsight's a cocky little punk, isn't it? Always showing up after the car crash with a smug grin and a seatbelt manual. Anyway, the last thing she ever texted me wasn't, "I'm sorry," or "We need to talk," or even, "It's not you, it's me." No, she said, "Enjoy your pathetic life." Cold as ice. No emoji. Just 6 words and a middle finger stuffed into my soul. Now here's where it gets good. You'd think I'd fire back with something long and therapeutic, like, "You'll regret this," or, "I hope the Wi-Fi in Bali sucks." But I didn't. I replied with one word. Understood. That was it. That's when the game changed. Because I might have been stunned, but I wasn't stupid. And while she was sipping smoothies in some jungle villa thinking she was the main character in an Eat, Pray, Love sequel, I was already talking to my buddy, Ian, who just so happens to be a cybersecurity consultant with a soft spot for revenge stories. It turns out, when you wipe out someone's life savings and abandon your marriage, there are consequences. Especially if the guy you left is patient, polite, and just a little bit petty. But that's for later. Because right now, I'm sitting alone in the quiet of my too big, too empty house, swirling a glass of whiskey I bought on a credit card she forgot to cancel, staring at a screenshot of her text on my phone. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even cuss. I just exhaled, calmly, slowly, and said out loud, "Well then, let the games begin." After her digital mic drop, "Enjoy your pathetic life," Emma went radio silent. Not that I expected a honeymoon itinerary, but a heads up about stealing every dime I'd ever earned might have been nice. Instead, I got Instagram. Yeah, while I was scraping together change to buy gas station coffee, she was posting hammock selfies with captions like healing, growing, stretching. And I'm not kidding. That was under a picture of her doing some kind of upside-down yoga move while Sky stood shirtless in the background looking like a cologne ad for guys who say namaste as a pickup line. Now, I'm not petty by nature. I don't key cars or slash tires or fake emergency calls to get couples kicked out of luxury resorts. But you strip a man's bank account and tell him to enjoy his pathetic life. And suddenly, you start finding time in your schedule for a little strategic payback. So, I started digging. Not just on Emma, on Sky too. And what do you know? Mr. Man Bun had a record. Nothing major, just a little fraud, a couple lawsuits from former clients, and one very interesting case involving a yoga retreat that somehow turned into a pyramid scheme. According to a few Yelp reviews, the only things that got stretched were the truth and people's credit limits. I made some calls. A buddy of mine works for a private investigation firm. Normally, they deal with insurance fraud and rich people who think their pool boys are getting too friendly with the help. But I gave him Sky's info, wired a retainer, and asked him to find out exactly what my ex-wife was up to down there. 3 days later, I get a folder of photos. Not screenshots. Not social media stuff. Real, old school, zoom lens, caught on camera kind of photos. Emma. Sky. A laptop. A group of people who looked way too trusting and way too vegan. Turns out, Sky wasn't just teaching yoga. He was pitching some new cryptocurrency/eco healing venture. And Emma? Oh, she was listed as Chief Spiritual Officer. You can't make this crap up. Now here's the twist. That eco coin thing they were pushing? It was a straight-up scam. Unregistered securities, fake testimonials, the whole shady jungle package. And wouldn't you know it, one of their first investors was an American retiree who just happened to be an undercover agent working on international wire fraud cases. Suddenly, healing in Bali didn't look so peaceful anymore. But I stayed quiet. Patient. I had what I needed. Because once the right people knew what they were doing and where they were doing it, justice was going to do the real yoga. Show up, flex, and bend someone's world backward. In the meantime, I did what she told me. I enjoyed my pathetic life. I slept in the middle of the bed. I got Thai takeout 3 nights a week. I bought a punching bag and named it Sky. And slowly, very slowly, I started to feel something I hadn't felt in a while. Peace. Not the kind that comes from forgiveness. No, no. The kind that comes from knowing karma wears a badge, and she doesn't need yoga pants to bring balance back. Because I knew it was coming. And when it did, it'd be loud. And messy. And in a hotel lobby with a lot of confused tourists watching a woman in a robe scream as the cuffs went on. But we'll get to that. You ever see one of those slow-motion train wrecks? You know it's coming. Everyone sees it coming. But there's something magnetic about watching people absolutely refuse to get off the tracks. That was Emma and Sky. While I was back home sipping my morning coffee like a civilized man, black, no sugar, with a side of "you're gonna regret this," the happy couple were out in Bali living their best lives. And they were doing it loud. Yoga retreats, moonlight meditations, cryptocurrency pitches in jungle bungalows. All on my dime. And then they got greedy. See, the thing about people like Sky is that they always want to scale. It's not enough to scam a few gullible tourists with scented candles and digital tokens that don't exist. They want investors. And once you start dangling life-changing returns in front of people, you attract two types, suckers and suits. Unfortunately for them, one of those suits wore a wire. My PI gave me the update in a call so calm it sounded like we were discussing weekend golf. Your wife and yoga boy just took a $25,000 donation from a federal asset pretending to be an investor. We've passed everything to the authorities. Now it's a waiting game. A waiting game. You ever wait for something bad to happen to someone who absolutely deserves it? It's better than Christmas. I was counting down the days with a level of glee I hadn't felt since college football season. And then it happened. 3 weeks, to the day, after her little "enjoy your pathetic life" message, I got the call. "Cole, it's done." Those 3 words hit like gospel. Turns out, the Bali police had teamed up with U.S. financial crimes agents. You mess with tourists, nobody cares. You scam Americans? Suddenly, you're on an international guest list nobody wants to be on. Emma and Sky were staying at some overpriced eco-hotel that served vegan sushi on bamboo leaves and charged $14 for coconut water. Real soul journey kind of place. They were mid-morning stretch when the police raided the property. Now picture this. Emma, face scrubbed, robe barely tied, caught mid-downward dog with a turmeric smoothie in hand, screaming at hotel staff in 3 different accents while 2 uniformed officers explained, very calmly, that she was under arrest for participating in a fraud scheme targeting U.S. citizens. Sky tried to run. Of course he did. These types always do. But let's just say Downward Dog doesn't prep you for sprinting in flip-flops. According to reports, he face-planted into a decorative koi pond and was escorted out soaking wet and smelling like lily pads. And Emma, dragged out of the hotel, barefoot, in the robe she probably bought with my savings, screaming about spiritual misunderstandings and alignment of energies. Yeah, turns out the only chakra getting open that day was a prison cell. The best part? Some tourist caught the whole thing on video. I didn't even have to Google it. Someone sent it to me with the subject line, "Your wife, starring in Law and Order, Bali Unit." Poetic. She wanted a new life. She got one. Orange robes instead of silk. Bars instead of bungalows. And me? I was officially, blissfully free. No confrontation. No begging. No drama. Just a 1-word reply and a 3-week timer on poetic justice. And I slept like a baby that night. I wasn't planning to hear from her again. Honestly, I figured Emma would spend the next few months doing deep breathing exercises behind bars and writing a memoir no one asked for. Something like Namaste Behind Bars, Finding Peace After Federal Charges. But apparently, regret moves fast when the cell walls are concrete and your cellmate thinks astrology is a contact sport. It started with an email. Subject line, "Can we talk?" I almost laughed. It was from her old Gmail. The same one she used to send me cute messages about picking up almond milk or binging crime shows. Now it was being used to request a little "let's talk it out" time, like we were just dealing with a bad weekend and not a full-blown felony. The message was short. Too short. "Cole, I know I messed up. I'm scared. Please talk to me. Emma." Now, a younger me might have responded. Might have jumped at the chance to hear her explanation. Soak in the drama. Get the why. But this version of me? This version had grown up. Hardened up. Leveled up. And most importantly, he knew one thing. When someone burns the bridge, they don't get to ask for a ride back across it. So I did what any self-respecting man would do. I screen capped the message, forwarded it to my PI, who added it to the case file, then deleted it. But it didn't stop there. 3 days later, a video call request came through. It was her, in a detention facility, somewhere humid, wearing a loose-fitting jumpsuit that did absolutely nothing for her spiritual glow. She looked, well, not great. And I don't mean that in a petty, shallow way. I mean that in a karma has been hitting the gym and she's swinging haymakers kind of way. Her eyes were tired. Her skin looked like she hadn't seen moisturizer or natural light in days. And her tone? Let's just say she'd gone from condescending to concerned real quick. Cole, I made a mistake. Now that right there. That line should be in the cheater's starter pack. Right between, it didn't mean anything and you pushed me away. But I let her talk. I didn't say a word. Just watched her fidget with the collar of her jumpsuit and tried to explain how it wasn't what it looked like. How Sky had manipulated her. How she didn't know it was illegal. How she just wanted to feel alive again. The whole time, I just nodded. Calm. Stoic. Not a twitch. When she finally paused, probably expecting me to say something like, I still love you, or we can fix this, I leaned forward and said one word. Understood. Same as before. Same word. Different battlefield. You could see it hit her. Like a truckload of unresolved consequences. Wait, that's it? She asked. Yep, that was it. She tried to say more. I clicked. End call. And just like that, I walked away from the wreckage again. No fireworks. No screaming. Just me, a man in full control, declining a guilt trip that left the station 3 weeks too late. And the best part? She still had no idea what I'd done with the rest of our money. She thought she got it all. But like any guy who's ever seen a marriage wobble, I had backups. I had contingencies. I had folders. Emma stole what was in the joint account. She didn't know about the offshore trust my grandfather set up. She didn't know about the crypto wallet I moved to cold storage. She didn't know about the deed transfers I'd filed months ago. In other words, she took the bait, but she never touched the hook. You know what they don't tell you about marriage? It's basically one long trust fall with your wallet open. Now, I'm not saying all women are out to take what's yours, don't get it twisted. But when you're the guy who built the bank account, and you marry someone who starts ordering crystal necklaces and calling it an investment, it pays to have an exit strategy. Just in case. That's why I had a plan long before Emma ever boarded that one-way flight to Fraudville. Let me back up a bit. See, my grandfather was a Depression-era man. Saved everything. Labeled everything. Had a backup generator for his backup generator. His version of the talk wasn't about birds and bees, it was about trust and asset protection. He taught me one rule. Always love with your whole heart, but keep your financial pants on. So I listened. When I got married, I insisted on a prenup. Not because I didn't love Emma, but because I did. Because nothing exposes a person's true self like discussing money while they're still high on cake tastings and honeymoon brochures. To her credit, she didn't fight me on it. She called it just a formality. I called it insurance. Either way, she signed. Fast forward to 3 months before she disappeared with Sky. I noticed her spending shifting. New yoga gear every week. Spa retreats. Online courses with titles like Awaken the Goddess Within. I'm not judging, but I am doing math. So I made moves. Quietly, efficiently, legally. I transferred the title of my house into a trust, one that she wasn't part of. I sold a few high-value stocks and moved the gains into a separate, prenup-protected account. I opened a new crypto wallet and moved my holdings into cold storage. No more exchanges, no more traceability. The cherry on top? I revised my will. The version she knew left her everything. The new version? Left her exactly what she gave me. Nothing. And the savings account she emptied? It was a decoy. A bait account. Set up for emergencies and manipulation. She cleaned it out thinking she won. She didn't know about the real money. The trust fund. The investments. The offshore reserves. All protected. All legal. All mine. So when she ran off and tried to burn my life down, all she really did was set fire to a dummy warehouse filled with monopoly money and expired coupons. And now? She's sitting in a cell, probably still wondering how I stayed so calm. Well, that's how. Because a man doesn't need to yell when he's already won. He just needs to wait for the gavel to drop. And the best part? I wasn't done. Because while she was busy asking for mercy on a spotty Wi-Fi connection, I had one final surprise lined up. Something that'd take this from a satisfying ending to a legendary one. By now, Emma had settled into a whole new world, one where the breakfast buffet was replaced by a plastic tray, and the closest thing to yoga was sharing a bunk bed with a woman named Agni who snored like a power drill. While I stayed silent publicly, privately I was gearing up for one final masterstroke, the deposition. See, the feds had enough to nail Sky. He was the ringleader, after all. But Emma? Her role was murkier. Emotional duress, they called it. Manipulated by a con man. A possible out. Not on my watch. So I volunteered a statement. My PI compiled a beautiful package, photos, timestamped texts, money transfers, social posts, and the icing, the screenshots of her pathetic life message and the deleted videos from their retreat's private Discord, which someone, bless their nosy heart, had downloaded and sent to me anonymously. It showed her, in full spa casual bathrobe, explaining to a group of wide-eyed crypto hippies how you need to cleanse your digital energy before investing. She said this, out loud, in front of a whiteboard. When the agents saw it, they called it intent to defraud. When her public defender saw it, he called it a nightmare. When the press saw it, because yes, it leaked, well, let's just say that robe is now a meme. Her new nickname? Crypto Karen. Meanwhile, Sky, her enlightened lover, was cracking under pressure. Federal prison doesn't exactly vibe with his crystal aura. Turns out, smoothies and mantras can't save you from 30 years of mail fraud. The man folded faster than a dollar store lawn chair. He gave up everything. Names, accounts, offshore schemes, and, most importantly, her. His official statement? She knew everything. She helped plan it. She handled investor calls. And just like that, Emma lost her best defense. She wasn't a manipulated spouse anymore. She was a co-conspirator. A full partner. A fake chief spiritual officer with real federal charges. The plea deal she was hoping for? Gone. Now she was looking at 8 to 12 years. And me? I was just getting started. While Emma awaited trial, I went about cleaning up the life she left behind. Step 1. I sold the house. The one she used to parade around in like she was HGTV's gift to granite countertops? Gone. Sold it to a single mom who runs a bakery. Gave her a deal. I even threw in the yoga room, converted it into a wine cellar. Felt poetic. Step 2. I took a trip. 2 weeks in Italy. No agenda, no plans. Just wine, pasta, and an absolutely stunning solo traveler named Elise who hated yoga and loved bourbon. I told her my story over dinner one night. She called Emma delusional and Sky a walking headband. We toasted to both. Step 3. I published a blog post. Title? Enjoy Your Pathetic Life, a Rebuttal. It wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter. Just one man's account of a marriage, a betrayal, and how sometimes rock bottom turns out to be a diving board. It went viral. Thousands of shares. Comments from men and women who lived through the same thing. People called me calm, honest, stone cold. One guy called me the Chuck Norris of heartbreak. Not sure what that means, but I'll take it. Trial day came. Emma walked into the courtroom in a stiff gray suit that didn't quite fit, flanked by a lawyer who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Her hair was pulled back, her face pale. She spotted me in the gallery, calm, clean-shaven, new suit, no tie, just a half smile. She didn't smile back. The prosecution laid it all out. Wire transfers, fake business plans, testimonies from duped investors, and, of course, Exhibit D, the bathrobe video, played on a courtroom screen, paused at her pointing to the phrase blockchain frequency alignment on a whiteboard. Even the judge snorted. Emma tried to defend herself, claimed Sky manipulated her, claimed she wasn't aware of the full scope. The prosecutor responded by playing a voicemail she left Sky where she said, and I quote, "By the time they figure it out, we'll be sipping margs in Portugal." That was the nail. She got 9 years. Eligible for parole in 5. Sky got 18. Eligible in 10. When the judge gave his sentence, he said, "You preyed on people's desire for meaning and turned it into a scam." Emma didn't cry, didn't speak, just stared blankly ahead. I didn't clap. I didn't gloat. I just stood, buttoned my jacket, and walked out. Now, here's where I leave you. Not broken, not bitter, just lighter. Life after betrayal is strange. At first, you want revenge. Then you want closure. But eventually, if you do it right, what you really get is freedom. Emma taught me a lot. Taught me what to look for, what to guard, how to see red flags that aren't wrapped in yoga pants and good lighting. And Sky? Sky taught me that some men wear charisma like cologne. Smells good from far away, but get too close, and it burns your nose. As for me, I'm good. No, scratch that. I'm great. I bought a new place upstate. Has a fireplace, a screened-in porch, and enough space to hear myself think. Elise visits often. We talk about opening a distillery someday. Who knows? And that message? The one she sent me? Enjoy your pathetic life. I printed it, framed it, hung it in my office, right next to a simple reply in bold, clean font. Understood. And that, my friend, is the end of the story. Not the end of me. Because I'm still here. Standing. Smiling. Moving on.